What we're looking at here is the world's most advanced fighter jet, the F-35. This is a 5th generation aircraft, meaning it's built to be both smart and stealthy. In fact, it's so stealthy, it shows up on radar no bigger than a dragonfly, meaning it can sneak past enemy air defenses and then wreak havoc with the huge array of weaponry it can carry. We're going to break down every part of this futuristic jet, see some in action aboard Britain's most advanced aircraft carrier, and speak to a pilot to find out more. This is the F-35, a $100 million 5th generation fighter jet. But what does 5th generation mean? Two things: stealth and sensors. There's a lot of detail we don't know about how these systems work, but the basics of the F-35's stealth abilities lie in its shape. It's a sleek aircraft. The body is blended with the wings, and the wings with these two air intakes, which hug the sides of the cockpit. We'll cover its weapons in more detail in just a moment, but for now, notice how they're tucked away inside the body rather than hanging outside. Also notice how the edges of its weapon hatches and engine exhaust are jagged. The jet is also split down the middle by this ridge, which aligns with its wings and tail. What this shape helps to do is confuse enemy radar. Radar works by pushing out radio waves which hit the jet, reflect back, and are then picked up by a sensor. This echo is what tells it where the jet is. But the F-35 shape is meant to scatter those waves in all directions, rather than sending them straight back, making it much harder to pick up. The jet is also coated in a special radar-absorbent material, meaning some of those waves are soaked up. Fewer waves means less chance of detection. As well as sending out waves, enemies can locate the jet by listening for waves which it makes. Some of these waves, infrared, are made by the engine as it burns fuel. In the F-35, the engine is specially adapted to emit less of these waves. Other waves, radio waves, are made by the jet's own radar, which is hidden in the nose. Just like the ground radar, this bounces the waves off objects and then listens for the echo to try and work out where the enemy is. But unlike the ground radar, it can attack enemy sensors by broadcasting powerful signals at them, confusing or jamming them. This hides the jet among a mess of background noise. Hiding from the enemy is not enough, however. The F-35 also needs to see the enemy so it can shoot at them. This is where its sensors come in. As well as radar, this fighter has what looks like a glass box just underneath its nose. This contains a powerful infrared sensor, which can lock onto hostile targets, guiding the jet's precision bombs and missiles directly towards them. Finally, there's 6 cameras embedded into the aircraft which point in every direction. These feed directly into the pilot's high-tech helmet, which costs $400,000. Inside the visor of this helmet, the pilot can see things like his speed, altitude, and heading, all right in front of his eyes. The camera feeds are also displayed here, allowing him to look through the floor and sides of his own jet and swap between day and night vision. By taking in information from the radar and infrared sensor, he can also see where his wingmen are and where the enemy is. Clever computers help pick out targets he or she might not have seen, tell them how far away those targets are, and even what type of targets they are. In other words, it makes sure the pilot is one step ahead of anything or anyone else they might come up against on the battlefield. If we go back to the tapes, then we can see everything I was talking about up close and personal. What we're looking at here is the F-35B variant. It's made by the US, but it's operated by a dozen or more partner countries, including the British. It is a 5th generation stealth fighter bomber, and there are around a dozen of them here on the flight deck of the HMS Prince of Wales, the current flagship of the British Royal Navy. We're going to get up close and personal with the jet to find out exactly how it works. Here's a bunch of Royal Air Force F-35Bs on the deck of the Prince of Wales aircraft carrier. You can see the sleek shape I was talking about, with that distinctive central line running right down the body. You can also see the jagged edges of the engine exhaust right here and the weapon bays right here. Despite it being a bright day, you can see the matte effect on the aircraft body. That's the radar absorbent material, soaking up rather than reflecting the sun's rays. If you look closely, here's that glass box underneath the aircraft's nose with the targeting sensors inside. And here's those camera lenses, which allow the pilot to see all around the jet. Here's one of the pilots giving us a little wave, and he's wearing that incredibly high-tech helmet. Next, let's talk about the F-35's weapons, starting with the main gun. This is a beefy 25mm chain gun, which, on the A variant, is stashed just here, on the left-hand side of the aircraft, just above the air intake. This 4-barreled fire breather can spit out up to 3,300 armor-piercing fragmentation rounds per minute, emptying its whole magazine in just over 3 seconds. These bullets are designed to pierce the skin of other aircraft, armored vehicles, and buildings. You just heard me mention the A variant of the F-35. There's 2 more, the B and C variants, which have the same gun but mounted in a pod on the belly of the aircraft, like so. I also lied a little about the F-35 not having weapons under its wings. It can put 3 under each if it wants to, though it doesn't have to. These mounts, or pylons, are each designed to do different things. The ones closest to the body of the jet can load up to 5,000 pounds, meaning they can carry external fuel tanks which extend the jet's range. They can also carry air-to-ground weapons, bombs in layman's terms, like a GBU JDAM, a dumb bomb fitted with a guidance kit to make it more precise. The middle pylons can carry up to 2,000 pounds, meaning they can also load bombs like the JDAM. And the external pylons can load 300 pounds, so can only be used for small air-to-air missiles like the AIM-120 AMRAAM, which stands for Advanced Medium-Range Air-to-Air Missile. These are designed to blow up other aircraft. The advantage of these pylons is that they can load a heavyweight and huge variety of weapons. The drawback is they make the jet much less stealthy. The F-35 also has 2 internal weapon bays hidden away inside the belly of the aircraft. Typically, there are 2 weapons in each bay, a smaller missile attached to the bay door and a larger bomb up inside the jet. The smaller mount is for an air-to-air weapon, like the AMRAAM we just saw. One of these can also be fitted inside the bay, but this larger mount is typically reserved for a bomb, like the JDAM. The advantage of putting weapons in here is that it keeps the jet super stealthy. The disadvantage is that the weapons are limited by space and weight, especially on the B variant where these bays are smaller. Keep watching to find out why that is. One last weapon that can be mounted inside these bays is the B-6112, an unassuming sounding device which is, in fact, a nuke. These kind of look like a JDAM, but have a thermonuclear warhead inside, ranging in power from 0.3 kilotons all the way up to 50 kilotons. At the top end, that's 3.5 times more powerful than the bomb which leveled Hiroshima. Because of size constraints, only the A variant could carry these nukes. Mostly these are designed as a deterrent, a way to stop other countries from pressing the nuclear button first. But if they have to be used, they're capable of blowing up pretty much anything, from military bases and bunkers all the way up to entire cities. If we swap tapes for a moment, then we can see the Americans testing the B-61 with the F-35 fighter. Don't worry, even though this is a nuclear bomb, there's no warhead inside it at the moment. Nevertheless, they're still incredibly careful with it. You can see them carrying out checks on the weapon as it is removed from storage. Here you can see the F-35A with both of its internal weapon bays open. The bomb is raised into them, where technicians attach it to the jet. This is the finished result. 2 nukes concealed inside the bays and ready for action. The pilot climbs into the jet and completes some final checks. After dawn, he takes off for the test mission. This image shows the moment one of the B-61s was dropped from the aircraft. The test was successful, meaning the F-35A can now take nuclear bombs on real-life combat missions, though we hope they'll never have to. We've talked a bit about the F-35 variants and some of the differences between them, but the main way they're different is how they take off and land. So let's take a look at that. The A variant is a CTOL aircraft, meaning conventional takeoff and landing. That's a fancy way of saying it takes off from an airport runway. I'm guessing you already know what that looks like, but just in case. The B variant is known as STOVL, which stands for short takeoff, vertical landing. They're designed to take off from short runways, like those on board Britain's aircraft carriers, which we were lucky enough to see in person. You can see 2 flaps opening here on the top of the aircraft and another one on the bottom. The big one at the front contains a giant fan which sucks in air at the top and pushes it out the bottom to create extra lift. This fan is the reason the weapon bays need to be smaller. The one in the middle is a conventional intake which feeds into the engine at the back. You can see here that the engine exhaust can tilt slightly downwards for takeoff, ensuring even more lift. There's also a ramp at the end of the ship. These 3 elements combine to get the jet safely into the sky, even from this very short runway. To land, the exact same systems engage, except this time the jet exhaust rotates until it is pointed directly downwards. This allows the aircraft to hover. Decreasing the amount of thrust lowers the F-35 back onto the deck of the carrier. Then there's the C variant. This takes off and lands using a catapult system like the ones you find on US aircraft carriers. The F-35C has two hooks, one at the front and one at the back of the aircraft. The one at the front clips into a little device called a shuttle that is embedded in the carrier deck. You can see that happening here. Steam or powerful electromagnets then throw the shuttle forwards, dragging the aircraft behind it. This, combined with the power of the jet's own engine, is enough to get it airborne. The hook at the back, which you can see here, is used for landing. It grabs hold of metal cables that are stretched across the carrier's deck, rapidly slowing the jet down. Because the military loves an acronym, this is known as CATABAR, Catapult Assisted Takeoff but Arrested Recovery. While on board the Prince of Wales, we were fortunate enough to get time with an F-35 pilot who explained more about how all of that works.
I'm the executive officer for 6th and 7th Squadron, which is one of the F-35B squadrons on board. And the executive officer is essentially squadron's 2IC, deputy to the boss.
First, I wanted to know what it's like to actually fly the F-35.
It's like flying a giant computer. So I started flying years ago, and you learn on little propeller planes that are all mandrolic. You know, your stick pulls bits of string, which pulls the ailerons and bits and bobs around. This thing's just a giant computer. So when I move the stick, it doesn't even move that much. It tells the computer what to do with the flight controls, and then the airplane does its thing. So it's really, really easy to fly. Like, the airplane looks after you. You can't even fly into the ground if you try. The computers take over and fly you away. Difficult to operate though from a tactical point of view. So you've just got a lot of information. So the airplane, essentially in front of you in the cockpit are two giant iPads essentially, and all the aircraft sensors. It's got a radar. It's got an electro-optical targeting pod essentially. It's got electronic sensors all around it. They're taking all this information, fusing it all together and displaying all the information to you as a pilot. So it's your job, take all that information into account, figure out what to do with it, and then make a tactical decision to execute your mission, essentially. So the fact the airplane's easy to fly is really, really good. So we take all of our capacity is taken into flying the mission, not so much on flying the airplane.
Being a fighter pilot means coping with extreme stress on the body as you pull maneuvers at several times the speed of sound. I wanted to know what that's like.
So the jet is 7.5 G, or maybe just a little bit less, 7.5 G rated for, so we'll pull up to that. If you're specifically training for what we call BFM, basic fighting maneuvers, 1v1 air combat, we'll pull that regularly during multiple times during the fight, but they'll be quite short trips because we get through fuel quite quickly. If we're up doing an air-to-surface mission, for example, where our job is to go out and find targets on the ground and prosecute them, there'll be less G-pulled, more sitting in your comfy, well, not really comfy, sitting in your ejection seat, finding stuff, looking at your screens and dropping bombs. So it all depends on the mission. So we wear G-suit on the bottom of our, from torso down essentially. So when we pull G, around our stomachs inflates, around our legs inflate, and that squeezes the blood up into our brain. The jet also has a thing called pressure breathing, so the jet forces air into your lungs. So when you are pulling G, all the blood's being forced up into your head, so it's not rushing down into your legs, so you black out, and it's forcing air in. So that's probably the most uncomfortable bit, is the jet trying to keep you conscious. But if you're not used to it, for example, the first time in the centrifuge, when you trained for it when I was a young'un, and the first time in the back seat of a Hawk, you're working hard, but after a while it just becomes normal.
I also wanted to know what other kit an F-35 pilot wears, starting with that incredibly expensive helmet.
When you join the force, you put like essentially a pair of tights on your head, and they take a laser scan, and you find out on this big 3D computer that you've got a head shaped like a potato, and then they go away and they make a special mold for your head. But the helmet, I think, is worth $450,000, like it's worth more than my house, which is pretty crazy. So you got the helmet, you got a jacket that you wear, which is all full of survival gear, radio, flares, light, water, all sorts of bits and bobs. It gets changed depending on what you're doing. So like for routine ops, it's just normal gear. For combat ops, they'll fill it with more survival gear, bigger radios, and maybe your pistol and ammo, that kind of thing. And then, as I say, on your trousers, you've got your G-suit. Underneath all that, a flying suit. Underneath that, you've got thermal protection in case you go in the water. It's cold water, you then wear an immersion suit, and they're really uncomfortable. Basically a giant, what scuba divers wear when it's cold. So you're basically wearing scuba diving gear with all the other gear on top, and then you get and sit in an ejection seat. Yes, that's pretty brutal.
Next up, I asked what it's like being in a 5th gen aircraft versus a 4th gen aircraft.
4th gen airplanes have a thing called, like you said, a head-up display, a HUD. A HUD is just a little bit of glass essentially on the top of the instrument panel that displays all your flight information to you, but it's fixed. And then whenever you move your head, it doesn't do anything. 4th gen platforms now do have what's called helmet mounted displays, so you can still look through your head-up display, and when you look around, you've got bits of information in your helmet. But this thing takes to a whole nother level. So we don't have a head-up display anymore. It's all in what's called a HMD, helmet mounted display. So all of your flight information is displayed directly onto the visor in front of you. And when you look forward, it displays it all relative to where you're going. So it gives you your speed and your height and your vector, etc. But then when you look away, it stops displaying that and starts displaying bits of information outside. For example, where your wingmen are, where your target is on the ground, where your target is in the air, what's shooting at you, that kind of thing. So it displays all the information to you. And yeah, you're correct in what you said. It's got a thing called DAS, Distributed Aperture System. So it's 6 cameras all around the jet that all fuse together into a picture. What it's designed for is picking up missiles that have been shot at you, essentially. But you're right, you can flick a switch in the cockpit and it displays the DAS feed onto your face. And then wherever you look, you can see out the cockpit. So you're right, if you look directly down, I can see the fields or the sea below me or whatever, which can get a bit disorientating. But yeah, we don't really use it for looking at the cockpit. It's mostly for that missile warning stuff.
What makes a 5th gen aircraft 5th gen?
5th gen really is it's 2 things really. It's stealth, more specifically low observability. So we are difficult for the enemy to detect us, which what's called breaks the kill chain. So an enemy fighter or an enemy surface or missile site, they might know we're there from other assets in the battle space that can see us, but when they try and target us with their own targeting radars, they can't see us themselves, and therefore they can't shoot us. So that's a big one, LO. The other one is a thing called sensor fusion, which I kind of mentioned earlier. So it takes in all the information from all the different sensors, and then unlike a previous airplanes, 4th generation airplanes, where the same information was displayed to you with slightly less capable sensors, this aeroplane has better sensors, and then it fuses it all together and provides you one single source of information in what's called a fused track. So for example, I might be flying a 4th generation airplane and it might go, hey, down over there, there's a radar track. Oh, and over there's a bit of electronic information from it. And over there's your targeting pod looking down range, and you can kind of go, well, that's down the same angle and probably the same range and looks about the same thing. That's probably aircraft type blah. Whereas in this thing, it'll do it all for you and say, hey, the enemy is over there, it's this range and it's this type of thing. So you don't have to think as much about all the bits of information that come into you in the cockpit.
I also wanted to know more about the kind of missions the F-35 will be sent to carry out.
It's a design for everything. It's a multi-role fighter. We could do air to air, we could do air to surface. And I think kind of our niche is a thing called SEAD, suppression of enemy air defences. So that's kind of what we bring to the UK military as a whole, whereas a Typhoon can go and kill enemy fighters and drop bombs just as well as any 4th gen fighter. What we can do is we can go to a place that 4th gen fighters can't get to because it's covered in surface-to-air missile sites and radars and stuff that can see them and shoot them. We can use our stealth and our sensors to get close to those systems, find those systems, take those systems down, which then allows the 4th gen Typhoon, in our case, to come in after us and then do their thing with more mass.
Last, I wanted to know what's unique about flying the F-35B compared to the A or C variants.
There's 3 models, the A, the B and the C. The A is normal, which now we just decided to purchase that platform as well, so that just takes off and lands normally. The C model is what the US Navy use, and that's what they land on ships with catapults and the rest of gear. We operate the B on this ship, that's Stovall. Short takeoff, vertical landing, so it allows us to take off from a really short distance up the ramp and off we go, and then we can land vertically on the ship. So it basically makes the ship that we use is a lot more simple to operate. You can operate in a kind of broader range of environments to a certain extent, and it makes the ship a little bit more versatile. So we can operate fast jets at the front, we can operate helicopters at the back, and we can kind of mix and match the two. The way it works in the jet though, again, like a big computer. So I literally press a button in the cockpit and go into Stovall mode, and then a big dustbin lid opens behind me, a big fan starts up, the nozzle at the back of the jet points downwards, and little puffer jets and the wings open up. But it's all imperceptible to me. I just press a button, the jet tells me, hey, I'm in hover mode, and then I do stuff with the throttle, do stuff with the stick, and the jet either hovers or it takes off slow or does whatever, but it's all button presses and bits and bobs, but it's all very simple and intuitive once you get used to it. But yeah, it's not like the Harrier where they're actually pulling levers and flying bits. This is more like pressing buttons in the right order and it'll all work out.
That's where this tape stops, but we'll be back soon to play you through another episode of War on Tape. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you want more videos like this in your feed, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.